Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 39 today for the USA Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Japanese Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But going into this then, clearly no cutscene for the R&D reset, and so I think I can pretty much confirm we won't be getting one going into Season 3, which is very surprising. I think I've gotten very lucky and kind of unlucky, depending on how you want to look at it. I got very lucky in Season 1 to 2, and then I'm probably going to get a little bit unlucky from Season 2 to 3 compared to maybe some of you guys who are playing the game in career mode, and also the YouTubers as well uploading F1 2018 career mode videos. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But of course, me leaving Haas at the end of this season will mean, with no reset, that Haas will remain in this kind of lofty position. At the moment, they're in P2 on the chart there, the performance chart. Red Bull have a tiny minor upgrade, but of course now that I kind of know we're not going to have an R&D reset at the end of this episode, I will be spending all my saved up points and trying to get the maximum kind of upgrades we can out of this car before we leave it this season there. But Ferrari make a small, actually quite a big step forward actually. I think that must be a major upgrade they've brought Ferrari to try and close the gap to us at Haas and Red Bull there. McLaren, you can see now, are officially the 4th best team, just ahead of Renault, surprisingly, who are now ahead of both Force India, and Mercedes do indeed drop down to the 4th worst team on the grid. But let's go into the USA Grand Prix, race where we can potentially mathematically lock out the Constructors' Championship. I think technically also if Magnussen has a bad enough race, I can also get the Drivers' Championship mathematically, but I think the better shoe-in one is the Constructors. So let's try and wrap up the Constructors' Championship if we can today. Obviously, it's the team's home race here at the USA Grand Prix, so it would be absolutely amazing to lock it out and win the Constructors here at USA in COTA, Austin, Texas. Let's go to qualifying and see how we do in the first part of the weekend.
We're expecting qualifying to start any minute here in Austin, Texas, where drivers will be hoping to top the timesheets today and be ready for tomorrow's US Grand Prix. This is the kind of track that eats rear tyres for breakfast, or so I'm told by more experienced drivers than myself.
No matter how good a driver is at managing their throttle application to limit rear slip, they can't always overcome a car that's inherently bad at looking after its rear tyres. Here we have a lot of low-speed corner exits, which means a whole load of energy, heat and tyre wear.
So like I think I mentioned in Season 1, and I will always bang on about, COTA is always a very difficult circuit. The AI, especially for the last 2 years on the F1 game, have been very, very consistent, and so we're going to have to watch out for how things go. And you can see there, very, very scruppy ending to that first flying lap there. Big lock up to the last corner, lost a lot of time, so we're going to start a second flying lap, hopefully a bit more cleaner into that last corner, but also just gaining more confidence in Sector 1 and Sector 2, trying to find the time. Especially Sector 1 is an area where I can find a lot of time compared to the AI, just like Japan was in Sector 1, a very, not similar Sector 1, but near enough kind of same philosophy of, you know, a very quick direction of change and weight shift there in Sector 1, and the rest of the lap is a bit more kind of, you know, like a more of a thoroughbred circuit, kind of long swooping corners rather than quick changes of motion. So very, very similar kind of setup here to USA like we had in Japan, kind of lower, softer suspension to make sure the car can ride all the changes going from left to right, and then a little bit still wide in the last corner, but a much better last corner than our first flying lap, and so we do get through into Q2, into P10. Magnussen there, a little bit lower down there, so I think maybe generally our car might face a bit of a difficult time maybe. Alonso once again looking strong, of course. If you guys did watch the last episode, Van Dorn with that win definitely showed that McLaren as a car, not just Alonso, is looking pretty damn good as a package, and it's already got me questioning maybe once again if, like 2017, we've already got that situation where the performance chart doesn't give you the full picture of how good the car is in race condition, because Van Dorn's won one race, Alonso's won 2 now in the last couple, so we'll have to see how that kind of goes and progresses into the end of the season in Season 3. But anyway, we finish off our first flying lap here in Q2 then on a set of super soft tyres, so I'm trying to set up an easier conservative tyre wear race for us on Sunday, but at the moment you can see we swapped to Ultras, and at the moment my super softs aren't going to cut it. I'm the only one actually trying this strategy. Everyone else is qualifying on those purple ultra soft tyres, so I'm going to have to bite the bullet and probably just qualify on those, because although I was P10, now I'm P11. Hulkenberg's got ahead, Leclerc is ahead of me actually as well, Hamilton and my teammates way up the order in P4, just behind the 2 Red Bulls and Alonso. So we're onto those purple sets, and as much as I would have liked to have qualified on super soft tyres, because that would have opened us up to potentially a decent one-stop race. We're going to have to qualify on ultras if we want to get into the top 10 shootout. I just don't have the raw pace to do it clearly against my teammate, and really even on the ultras I'd maybe not have the pace here, because you can see on the top right, although I have gained time, it's not as much as you would kind of want. I almost need to gain, you know, 6, 7 tenths here to really feel properly good and comfortable and kind of match my teammate here, but it's just not enough time here on the board. So I think I might be in a bit of trouble as we go towards the line then, as a blinding sun just covers up where the breakpoint is, but we make it through nice and tight on the apex. That was on the exit across the line. It is P8 then at the very end, so I was actually quite happy with that. Okay, P8, we're in the top 10 then, but as we fast forward through then, I've got no time left on the table, and last minute there you saw I did get knocked out by a whisker to Van Dorn in 10th place. Bottas makes it in, surprisingly. Actually, both Mercedes surprised me by making it in. I mean, they didn't make it into Q3 at Japan, and coming here, relative to every other team, they are worse off here at COTA than they were at Suzuka, and yet they made it into the top 10 here, so clearly using the back straight maybe to their advantage with the Mercedes power. My teammate there, you can see actually the Haas car maybe in general struggling a little bit he's behind both Ferrari cars, who obviously had the major upgrade. But yeah, we are out of the top 10 shootout in a race where, like I said, we're hoping to maybe wrap up the constructors. It's not a great day on Saturday. We're going to have to try and buck up and do something clever. Obviously though, it kind of maybe might be a blessing in disguise, because we now can start on any tyre we want on Sunday. So let's look into the grid and see if we've got any penalties maybe to help us out, and then we'll see how Sunday goes here at our home Grand Prix for the team.
What fantastic enthusiasm we have for Formula One here in the United States of America. And it's an enthusiasm born from generations of memorable Grand Prix racing. Bruce McLaren took his maiden victory at Sebring way back in 1959, and John Watson's 1983 victory at Long Beach, well, that still holds the record for the lowest ever starting position for a race winner. We have 10 turns to the left and 10 to the right here at the fantastic Circuit of the Americas. Overtaking opportunities into turn 1 and 12 at this anti-clockwise 3.6 mile track. And we should see average lap speeds of around 126 miles per hour. Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, and Raikkonen, the engineer. Vettel, they've taken a grid penalty. Leclerc and Nico Hülkenberg, Sainz, Ericsson, Pierre Gasly, and Alonso, Stroll, Hartley, Sergei Sirotkin, and Sergio Perez. Van Dorn and Esteban Ocon rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So thanks to a plethora of grid penalties, then we move up into a lucky number P7 on the grid. So that's going to be a lot better than we actually were hoping for, because I think really in the top 10 I probably would have only qualified around P7, if that even. So pretty good actually. I'm pretty happy with that, because now we can choose 3 tyres, and you can see there the default then is super soft to soft tyre there, the 1-stop. I did have a little think about maybe still doing a 2-stop and going on ultra to super soft, only because you can see there on the weather indicator there is some rain coming at the end of this race. So I thought maybe if I do ultra to super soft, I can stretch that super soft long enough to then go to that wet period. But then I had a rethink of what if the ultra softs don't go long enough, if I have to make an earlier stop. I don't want to be on very worn super softs while we're transitioning into the inters period. So I'm going to stick with the original 1-stop, soft to super soft to soft, and we're going to hopefully transition into the intermediates at the end of this race from the soft tyre, and hopefully jump some people because they would have done an extra stop than us maybe. So let's see how it goes then, and let's hopefully try and see what we can do about wrapping up the Constructors' Championship here today for Haas. So we go to 5 red lights at their home Grand Prix at the USA race here. 5 lights are out and we're underway. It's a great getaway there for Raikkonen. Slow one for me, but of course I'm on slower tyres to these guys, all on ultras, so that's fine, that's fair enough. So we go on the outside of Sebastian Vettel, who's trying to overtake me there. Kimi Raikkonen squeezed out my teammate there, and now Magnussen defends for from Vettel. They all slow down, though, behind Raikkonen. We go down the inside there, ride the curb a little bit, and we get past both of them there. So once again, just like Suzuka there last episode, we make a double overtake work there really nicely, and again it involves Sebastian Vettel, but this time it's also with our teammate there, Magnussen. So we're up into P6 then, and Raikkonen P5 ahead of us. So he made a big gain there, but then slowed those two cars down for some reason, and kind of a bit of a brake check there. And so at the moment, leading the way is Lewis Hamilton from the two Red Bull cars, then Valtteri Bottas. I forgot to mention that on the starting grid, Hamilton got pole and Bottas was P4. I don't know what on earth that is about, because their car, like I said, in the quali portion, should be theoretically worse than it was to the rest of the grid from Suzuka. I don't know. I think there's something funny about when you get knocked out of Q2. I think Q3 gets ran a little bit differently. It doesn't kind of take into account maybe the upgrades as much as it would do if you were running in Q3. It's a little bit odd, because I don't think there's any way a Mercedes car should have been getting pole around here, even if it favours this circuit, because it was that poor in the previous episodes. This entire season it has been. So I find that a little bit weird. But anyway, as we're moving through this Grand Prix then, still trying to do my best to chase after Raikkonen, but at the moment nothing is budging as we're on lap 2, but hopefully something can work on lap 3 with DRS available to us. Hamilton's actually getting away from the Red Bull cars on the minimap there, so I don't know, maybe he genuinely has some pace there in race trim, but we're trying to catch Raikkonen, but nothing's working at the moment into turn 1, even with DRS. But now there's some smoke there from Ricciardo, and Ricciardo is going to flame out of the USA Grand Prix. Raikkonen slow, he lifted off to let Ricciardo through, or to avoid him, and so we've taken advantage of that and overtaken him. It was yellow flags, we didn't overtake him until it was green, and so we've used that to our advantage very well. It's yellow flags once again, because I think Ricciardo drives a little bit into sector 1, so makes the entire sector yellow then, but when we overtook Raikkonen, all was green, so that was fair enough from us, and we just kind of, tactically thought about it there. So, so far this race has been all kind of about tactical thinking, we, in terms of, we're in P11, we're up to P7, let's tactically, use the strategy correctly, down the inside of Magnussen and Vettel, foresight to kind of break a little bit early and try and see what's happening, and now we've overtaken Raikkonen there, again, taking it cautious, don't need to go steaming in there full throttle when it all goes crazy. Sometimes it's worth lifting off a little bit, seeing what happens in front of us, then pouncing and overtaking people. That's exactly what we did both times with Magnussen, Vettel and Raikkonen. There, you saw, whilst I was talking about all of that, was a very easy DRS pass then on Bottas. So Hamilton might be leading the way, but the Mercedes car isn't that dominant anymore, and so even Verstappen now will try and attack Hamilton as we go through this first opening stint. Then Verstappen tries it around the outside. Hamilton defends quite well, though. Both these guys on ultra soft tyres, so they're going to have to come in eventually in the next 2-3 laps probably, because the tyre wear is pretty poor actually on the ultras, not so much on the supers and soft tyres, but the ultras definitely does wear out quite a fair bit here, and so if Verstappen is unsuccessful so far in overtaking Hamilton, but it's probably only a matter of time, you would say, because the difference in raw performance of the Red Bull v the Mercedes car on the performance chart is so big, so eventually it's got to happen. And so Verstappen does go down the inside this time round, a lot deep into the corner, big lock up there actually from the Dutchman, but he does take the lead then of the USA Grand Prix. Hamilton down to P2, we're still in P3 ahead of Valtteri Bottas then. Unfortunately can't get away from Bottas too much, and I can't really gain too much on Hamilton here, so I'm just trying to now focus on taking these tyres as long as we can, trying to protect them as much as we can, and then obviously go onto the soft tyres to make sure we can do the one stop for sure. Behind them is you've got the Renault of Hülkenberg, and then you've got the Sauber of Charles Leclerc doing a fabulous job there in what is what's that, 3, 4, 5, 6, P6. That Sauber's in P6. He's doing amazingly. I think that's also due to taking into account that I think Vettel and also my teammate Magnussen have already pit for their first set of I would guess super soft tyres. Yeah, it is super soft tyres there for both those cars, so that's why Leclerc's up in P6. But even with Magnussen and Vettel on the road there, Leclerc would have been P8, so he's doing really great and dragging that Sauber up quite a fair bit around here at USA. But now we move on back to our POV on lap number 6, and I think Hamilton might be coming in on this lap there. As we look at the mini-map there, I think that turquoise car has come in, and I think, no, it's actually Verstappen there. Verstappen's come in. Hamilton continues on then, surprisingly. Okay, so Verstappen's in, so the Red Bull will leave the race lead to Hamilton. We're up into P2. Bottas still P3. Hamilton now will come in on lap 7, and so now we will take the race lead of the USA Grand Prix. Bottas still going on on ultra soft tyres, which is very interesting to say the least. I think eventually he'll be coming in, surely, you would think, but for now, he's going to stay with us. And as we go through this Grand Prix then, I form a bit of a train, I can't lie, because I'm going a little bit slower trying to protect these tyres, but it's me from Bottas, then you've got Hulkenberg, Leclerc there, not too far off, and sticking with us actually as a 4-man train. So Leclerc, like I said, I just praised him, we'll praise him again, because he's actually sticking with Hulkenberg pretty damn decently. But Hulkenberg, I don't know, he's looking like he might fancy a move on Bottas here. You know, as the Ultras go off, the Super Softs will become the faster compounded tyre compared to worn Ultras, so maybe Hulkenberg can try something down this straight here with the DRS open. We saw the Renault was very quick around Suzuka. Behind them is then Carlos Sainz. Then you've got a whole gaggle of cars of traffic, and in the midst is this man Verstappen then in that traffic, along with Hamilton there, 2 places behind Verstappen, and so those guys will have to contend with trying to get through that traffic before they can even start to gain on us. All doing one-stops, and that will include Hulkenberg and Leclerc, because Bottas finally does come in. Lap 10, 18 laps to go. It's Hulkenberg P2 now on Super Softs, Leclerc Super Softs P3, and so now all 3 of us, I'm hoping we can all have a bit of a gentleman's agreement of we're not going to try and overtake one another. We can all just try and drive to a delta time and try and stretch these tyres and make this one-stop work for everyone's sake. But you know what? I've been talking about the one-stop going to soft tyres. It's actually getting darker and darker by the minute, and I have a suspicion, because my engineer's also been saying rain in 10 minutes time, and in 10 minutes time, that's a lot earlier than I thought, because 10 minutes, it's a 1:30 lap time-ish. That's just about 5 laps in this race. So the rain might be coming a lot earlier than I thought. And meanwhile, Leclerc, quite amazingly, tries to overtake Hulkenberg for P2. So he's really going for it, the youngster in the Sauber. But yeah, the rain might be coming a little bit earlier than we thought. So could we potentially go a one-stop onto intermediates? If we do that, we have a very good chance of winning this Grand Prix. And those guys behind us, Hulkenberg and Leclerc, also have a great chance here. But meanwhile, Verstappen overtook the Toro Rosso there. Hamilton has issues trying to get past the Toro Rosso and Force India. The Toro Rosso actually gets overtaken by the Force India first. And so Hamilton now has this traffic to contend with. So Verstappen's got some clean air now. But still, if these guys already made 1 pit stop onto dries, but then all of us make 1 more pit stop onto inters, we're going to keep the race lead. Hulkenberg's going to maintain in P2. Leclerc P3, it's going to turn out to be an amazing strategy to start on these super soft tyres. And whilst we talk about that, Magnussen now making his way through traffic down the inside of that same Toro Rosso car, I think of Gasly, or Hartley maybe, I think, that Verstappen overtook already. And now we can try and close up on Hamilton there, who's still stuck behind that Force India car. But now we move on to lap 12. And so this theoretically would be the lap I would be pitting in for soft tyres. But you can see tyre wear's not too bad. We're still not into like a 60%, 70% region. So we've still got some tyre wear to go and to kind of give up. But at the moment as well, you can see it is now fully overcast now. So I think the rain is coming soon enough. So I'm going to gamble and we're going to stay out as long as we can and then go on to intermediates. And meanwhile, whilst we do that, yellow flags behind us there in Sector 2. Something's gone off there. We'll have a look at that now on the replays to see what's gone on. So we're on board now on the nose cam with Magnussen. I hope to God it's not going to involve him, because he already had some bad luck there at Suzuka, being caught up in some traffic, in some incidents there, trying to overtake cars. We've got Hamilton trying to overtake the Toro Rosso car. Hamilton struggling to do that, actually. The Toro Rosso not looking too bad there. And so Hamilton and the Toro Rosso will go side by side into the S section. Oh, there's been contact. Hamilton's had an issue there. And looks like I think his tyres broke. Oh, my God. And then the Ferrari's coming in, smashed him up, and he got airtime there. Hamilton did. Into the S section. The Toro Rosso shears his tyres off, and then he gets absolutely thumped. There's no other better word to say it. He absolutely got thumped by the Ferrari car of Vettel, and that is now Vettel out of the Grand Prix as well. So a double DNF then for 2 main contenders usually in the world of F1. Vettel and Hamilton there on board with Hartley. You got a good shot there of the airtime. We actually have a better shot with the nose cam of the Toro Rosso. Look at this. Look at the airtime that Hamilton got there as Vettel smashed him there. It wasn't even an awkward angle. I think just the speed that Vettel hit Hamilton with caused that airtime. So a major crash there. And so Vettel and Hamilton DNF out of this race then. And so that's 2 less people I have to worry about, and 2 less people Magnussen needs to worry about, as Magnussen overtakes the Toro Rosso then. He's only 2-3 positions behind Verstappen, who is now in clean air and is chasing after Charles Leclerc, and also Hulkenberg, who's in 2nd place, who's now hounding me down. The reason he's hounding me down is because at the moment on lap 16 now, 4 laps after our theoretical pit stop should have been, I'm still going on, and you can see, look at the left-hand side of our car there. You can see the rain droplets there, and also maybe some rain streaking on the chassis where the halo meets the top of the chassis. It is raining. It's a bit damp here, and I'm struggling. You know, the AI, like we saw at Spa, the Belgian Grand Prix episode in this season, the AI are a lot more consistent and better at applying throttle in these kind of damp conditions. But to say that, though, I'm still going pretty well. Hockenheim is hounding me, but mostly in Sector 3. In Sector 1 and 2, I have him covered. And actually, you can see here, even though I'm going so slowly, like how like grandma-like are we all driving here? But that's because everyone is now so stubborn. They've got to this point in the race where we're all stubborn enough to go all the way to Inters now. So I don't need to worry about others behind me pitting earlier for Inters, because all of us now want to make sure we can go on to Inters and they can go all the way to the end of the Grand Prix, because the Inters do wear a fair bit. So if we go too early, we might have to make 2 stops in Inters, and no one wants that. So we're all just trundling around slow enough, like we have seen in real-life Grand Prix. How many times, you know, this season, 2018, Monaco, Singapore, the teams are all just so stubborn to make their one-stop work that they just go slower and slower, and everyone just slows down and just kind of has a bit of a, you know, just a pedestrian drive around the circuit. That's pretty much what's happening right now, apart from my teammate, to be fair, who's overtaken another car there, and he's up now the order to maybe chase after the top 3. So Magnussen's having a good field day here, and he's doing some good work, because like I said, remember, we can take the Constructors' Championship here, and Magnussen, I'm doing my job, obviously, in P1 at the moment. Magnussen's doing a great job to try and catch up and maybe make this a double podium. If we do get a double podium, it will seal the Constructors for us here at our home USA Grand Prix for the team, which will be fantastic, like I said. But eventually then, lap 17, it's finally time to come in for the intermediates. Everyone's tiptoed round. It's now time to come in. Myself, Hülkenberg, and Verstappen. Verstappen, you can see, to be fair play, he caught up Hülkenberg. He's right behind us, actually. So he did use his new tyres to good effect in these damp conditions. But now, if we go to the end of the Grand Prix, I got to hope that I have confidence in myself that we can take this home and hopefully don't have a pit stop blunder. Yep, no blunders there for us, but there is one for Renault, because Verstappen now is in P2 of this race and Hülkenberg is down to P3. So that's the pit crew difference between the Red Bull and the Renault car there. So it's now me from Verstappen, Hülkenberg, and Magnussen in P4. But now it's time to go to the end of this race. 10 laps to go, and I've got to hope that I'm confident enough in myself, my own ability. I know in the past I've not been amazing around intermediate conditions, but we've had a few brief amazing moments. I'm thinking about Mexico or Spain, where we're pretty damn good in the intermediate. So let's try and use the advantage in the pace advantage I seem to have in Sector 1, try and make up for the deficit in Sector 3 and try and pull this through. And so on lap 20, you can see 8 laps to go, and Verstappen is keeping us honest. He is there, but we're also doing the same job, like I said, of keeping him at bay. We're also saving a lot of ERS in intermediate conditions and also full wet. The ERS does not go down very much, so you can afford to keep it in high, even hot lap mode, really, for a lot of the lap time. And you won't lose the battery charge because, of course, your wheels are spinning a lot slower out of the corners anyway, so the electrical deployment's not as large and significant. So on the main straights, you can see bumping up to overtake mode. We're standard mixture, but overtake mode's good enough here. And as I look behind me there, you can see I do pull away from Verstappen in the traction zone and on the straight. So although Verstappen might catch me up in the corners, Sector 3 you're about to see, and also Sector 2, he was pretty handy around there. In Sector 2, on the back straight, just kind of like the Mercedes maybe in qualifying, I'm pulling away from him. And even now you can see going a bit understeering. Verstappen does, you know, poke around a little bit, looking at me, but, you know, 8 laps to go, and I'm just, you know, taking it lap by lap, corner by corner. And, you know, it's his prerogative. If he wants to send one down the inside, he can do. I'm just driving to my pace and keeping this thing on the road. It's all about if he wants to make an overtake. And for now, Verstappen does not have the balls or the speed to make an overtake in a straight line and dive it down the inside there. And the twisty parts of the circuit are just far too dangerous for him to do that. So as we move on, we followed ourselves throughout the entire lap on lap 20. Just to give you an illustration, guys, of pretty much this is what our race is going to be now for the remaining 7 laps there. Pretty much tiptoeing around and making sure we just stay ahead of Verstappen in a straight line at Sector 2. But one man on the move might be Magnussen, because he is closing up on Hülkenberg here for P3 in this Grand Prix to make it a double podium. Down the inside he goes. Tricky zone to make an overtake, though, in intermediate conditions. Easy to lock up. But to be fair to Hülkenberg, he gets the traction, comes back at Magnussen down the inside. So the German does really well. They jostle for position there, back and forth, back and forth. Magnussen and him, it's literally toe-to-toe. I couldn't even see Magnussen's car there for a second there. That equal on pace and side by side, but Hülkenberg manages to just squirrel through there on the exit through to the next double right-hander and keeps it for P3 for now. And so it's a good defensive drive from the German, but eventually Magnussen will have the overriding pace. Here he comes now. We're looking at a nice rear end shot of there of the Renault, but here comes Magnussen again round the outside now this time there. He'll turn to the inside for the next corner, and so crucially this time round he will have the better racing line to squeeze Hülkenberg out, and that will be P3 at the USA Grand Prix for Kevin Magnussen, and that will help us a lot there, because with Ferrari, obviously with Vettel having a DNF, Raikkonen's behind Hülkenberg there, Verstappen's in P2, still trying to do his best to chase me down, but I'm still confidently driving around in P1. That is going to be a crucial move that Magnussen's made, because that will help the team out, get the points it's need, because as we come round through now to the last lap of the Grand Prix, we've kept composed in P1, despite Verstappen pressurising us now for 10 laps there. We've kept our cool, and we just control this race as much as we needed, set the pace we want to set, and Verstappen has just not been able to do anything with the power of the Haas and also the ERS working a treat there. So we're going to come through the last corner, and with myself in P1, Magnus in P3, I believe we should be crowned the Constructors' Champions at our home race.
Fantastic. It's a brilliant result. Well done.
It was a tough race at times, but they've held on to take a great victory for Haas. And Anthony Davidson, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I think we'll chalk this one up to a deft touch on the brake pedal. That's allowed them to challenge down the inside into the braking zones, and ultimately, if you do that often enough, you end up winning the race. It was great to watch as well though, wasn't it? Forget strategy, forget tyre management. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned scrap?
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, and it's going to be Haas picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for coming out on top in that amazing Grand Prix.
So there we have it, P1 and P3, and a fantastic Grand Prix recovery from P11, P7 on the grid to P1 with an inspired strategy, super soft all the way to inters. We took those super softs so many laps, 17 laps, absurd number of laps, and in doing so we got the win here at the team's home race, which is great in itself to win at the USA Grand Prix for a USA-based team. But also, with Magnussen P3, we are crowned the Constructors' Championship. Mathematically, no one can win it now. Mathematically, Magnussen can still win the Drivers' Championship, so that is not over yet. So we still go on fighting. Like I said, I will not finish the fighting until I've actually got my hands on the trophy. So we plow on and fight as hard as we can next episode for the Drivers' Championship. If we can, maybe seal it there. But we have wrapped up the Constructors, so at least that's kind of half the job done and half the pressure taken off there. So let's go to the final interview then, and then let's get introduced to our trophy.
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. Was there really any competition for you today?
So this question was obviously about this Grand Prix, and we had a DNF there for Ricciardo, but we've had many DNFs this season, so I'm going to say the right-hand side answer. I don't think any team has been as reliable as we have been, clearly.
You performed better than last weekend. What changed?
This question was a bit weird because I feel like my performance last weekend was pretty damn good as well. So we're just going to go with the right-hand side answer then. A few tweaks on the aero maybe. Yeah, my apologies in Sector 2, Sector 1 and 2 obviously.
Great. Well, that's everything.
But that is going to be it then, and that's the last question we get from Claire, and we are now going to be introduced to the trophy soon enough. We get the rivalry update there with Magnussen and Vettel, and we should be able to beat Sebastian Vettel maybe next episode and win that second rivalry against the German there. We get 500 extra resource points for 2 clean races, so that's great. We have more points to spend at the end of this episode then. As I said, we're now going to spend all the points we saved, you know, I think over 4,000 nearly resource points. But here we go then. You have won the Constructors' World Championship. The first time we're seeing this on F1 2018, the game in career mode there. Feels absolutely great. Obviously, it's been a bit of a long-term project. 2 seasons it took us here with Haas, taking them from the top of the midfield right to the top here. You saw, you know, we've won now, what, 4 races? I think Magnussen's won 2 or 3. It's been a fantastic season for Haas. We've turned this car into a real world beater, a very consistent car as well, you know, minus a few unlucky moments for myself and Magnussen, but we haven't really had too many reliability issues in this season in particular. I mean, season 1 we did, but season 2, not really. So it's been a fantastic season, and we get, you know, duly rewarded by getting the Constructors' Trophy early here at the home ground. I think, you know, we've made history. We've not only won the Constructors for Haas, but we've done it in some style. To win it at their home race in USA. You can imagine if this was real life, the crowd would be going absolutely insane seeing an American team win it on home soil in the Constructors' Championship. So I'm really, really happy with that. And guys, be sure to smash that like button for writing history right now in F1 2018 career mode. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. But finally then, we're going to move on to those R&D points. Like I said, we've got over 4,400 points to spend now. And so we're going to go through this. We're going to buy a pure engine power upgrade. It's going to be a minor one, but it's still there. And we're also going to go for a major ERS development there as well. So double whammy on the engine. We are unable to actually purchase another engine upgrade because we don't have the simultaneous development perk, but that will allow us then to move over to the chassis and get an ultimate upgrade on brakes. So we've got an ultimate chassis upgrade coming. We've got a major and a minor engine upgrade coming. No aero because we don't have any more points because the ultimate upgrade and the one major did put a big denter in the amount of points. So actually 4,400 points went by in a flash actually. There are only 3 upgrades, but one of them being ultimate upgrade. So you can see once those upgrades come in, they're going to trickle in over the next 3 episodes, Mexico, Brazil and Abu Dhabi. So quite nice actually how that's going to come in one after the other. You can see there, we're going to leap ahead by the end of the season. So as I leave the team, we're going to leave them with a very, very good car. Now, I know a few people have been asking why I'm doing that. You know, surely I should just not spend them. You know, you're kind of correct, but also I kind of feel like from 2017, the game, back then, we kind of agreed upon I shouldn't really, you know, exploit the game that badly because, you know, over the course of the season, generally, I have very good reliability. You know, it's very rare the player gets dealt reliability cards, you know, with engine failures, and the AI do. So to kind of balance that out, I feel like it's only fair that I don't exploit the game mechanics and I do actually spend those resource points because in theory, if I was leaving the team wouldn't stop upgrading. The team would continue to upgrade the car whether I was leaving or not. But in the game, obviously, only the player can spend those points. Obviously, if I leave the team, maybe the AI of Haas spend those points from Season 2 to Season 3. But there's no guarantee they do. So to guarantee they do, I'll do it for them before the season ends, if you know what I mean. I feel like I've explained that in a way that makes it, you know, I've explained it and it seems fair to me at least. Hopefully it does to you guys as well. So guys, again, if you haven't enjoyed the episode, smash that up button. We have written history today by becoming the Constructors Champions with Haas F1 team. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, do subscribe for weekly F1 content. I've been Aarava. Hope you enjoy the day, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.